This hour is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on and welcome aboard the Indiana Sports Beat here on this Thursday, March 19th. My gosh, we are marching right through this early spring. Welcome aboard. Todd Leary's with us as always. Jake's at the wheel, keeping us on the track. Joining us on the program today, Hall of Fame sports writer Rick Bozich from Fox 41 WDRB in Louisville, and Dustin Schutte as well. Todd Leary, how are you doing, man?
Man, it's like Groundhog Day.
I'm telling you.
Same as yesterday, just sitting in the same seat, most likely wearing the same clothes.
I'm glad y'all don't notice because I wear the same clothes about every day. No golf yesterday, man. The rain kind of, the world was just kind of at a standstill yesterday with the rain when it was raining. Yeah,
Mother Nature joined the party yesterday and making everything as difficult as possible right now. So, it is. It's just a good time to sit back and get caught up on all your reading and your.
Can you imagine if we were going through this without social media, without all
we might
luxuries?
be better off. Might be better off without social media.
Well, that I agree with you 1,000%.
In all reality, and I'm not saying that to
No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Some of the information that you get and the way that it's, I don't know. It just is. I'm not certain that that's not negative in this.
I agree with you. Yeah, I can look back, us or whatever. You can see how people in the beginning were, whatever. Now it's like, okay, most people are starting to really take it serious. You still got these goofy kids down on the beaches in Florida. The kid yesterday, the interview was, oh man, if I catch it, it's no big deal. It's not going to stop me from partying. Well, I guess the thing that these morons aren't getting, it's not you we care that you catch it. Nobody cares if you catch it. Nobody really cares if it does its deal with you or not because you're such a moron. But it's the people that you can give it to.
You could possibly
cannot withstand that.
Yeah, I mean, stay down there.
Yeah, I said
stay down there for a couple weeks.
Stay in the water. Just don't come back. Just stay there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But I mean, also, from the standpoint of what is there? Here's what you think about down there from that perspective. I mean, they're outside in the open air. I know they're not adhering to the 6 feet away from each other rule and all that. I get all that, but I mean, at least they're not. At least they're out in the open air and that stuff. The issue I see with all that is, I mean, you've been down there on spring break. You've seen what that's like. Where do you eat? Like, where do you go do? Like, that's when you're too close to everybody, and that's when it could get ugly.
Alan is on the text line already from Baird's Eye. Said, good morning. Wow, while watching the replay of the 93 IU Michigan game last night. Interesting info on Father Todd. He held a 3.7 GPA. Next, did Calvert really step off the free throw line? There you go. So there's some congratulations. First of all, congratulations on your 3.7 GPA.
Thank you.
Very, very nice.
You want to know the interesting fact of that is
absolutely.
I didn't even win the academic award on our team. Chris Reynolds always had a higher GPA than me, so I didn't get to celebrate that victory because they give out an award for who has the highest GPA on the team every year.
Were you second?
Yeah.
Dang, that just sucked. Look at him wasting his life away over.
Story of my life. It's fine. It's fine. But I mean, it was, and then the year that he graduated, I think Robbie Eggers. I think when Robbie Eggers came in, he was like a 4.0 GPA, and he was there for a year when I was there. So I never got the academic award.
Oh, man.
It's a story of my life. It's
I was going to say.
In case you're wondering, I have not been bitter about that one bit since then. It's not any issue whatsoever. I've never even thought about it. every day since then. But here's the funny part of that story of Calvert stepping off the free throw line is I got in trouble for it. Coach Knight went crazy and screamed at me in the locker room about it because he said I shouldn't have caught the ball when the referee handed it to me. He said I should have let the ball drop to the ground and not taken it.
Because you knew that was going to happen.
I knew Calvert was getting ready to walk away from the free throw line. Yeah,
of course it was your fault.
Yep. Oh
man, Tim's on the text line as well. And feel free to hit us up on the text line. As a matter of fact, everybody can 812-269-6367. Tim says, first of all, can you and Todd come up with your top 10 coaches from the Knight era to present? I'm not sure what.
From the Knight era, like including the Knight era, or you mean like since 2000?
Are you talking about at IU, Tim? Yeah, or I mean,
well, they've not had 10 coaches at IU,
right?
So surely he's just meaning the top. He's probably meaning who they could have hired at IU.
Yes, clarify that, Tim, and send it back to us. And
we'd be happy to march down any top 10.
Work on that. We'll work on that for tomorrow, but clarify that is
tomorrow. Heck, I can wing that answer.
All day long.
Yeah, for sure. We got plenty of time.
All day long. But, yeah, that's great stuff to talk about. And then also today I want to talk about we'll talk about this HBO documentary, but Dick Vitale, Fran Fraschilla, many others, they think that these college basketball seniors should get an additional year because this. And I'm like, there's no way I think that they can make that happen. I think it sucks that they lost the tournament, but I don't think you can bring back every senior daggone basketball player, or that what you got to do all winter sports. You can't just do basketball. You have to do all winter.
Well, I see. That's where, that's where right now you can't say they can't do this or that anymore, because we would have, if you'd have told all of us 2 weeks ago that they could cancel the NCAA tournament and the NBA and cancel all schools, and we'd all be sitting there going, they can't do that.
You're crazy.
So I mean, football would be the one, obviously, I think. Maybe there's another one, I just haven't thought it through. But football would be the one that would jack it up because of the numbers alone. But basketball-wise, I mean, just use Indiana as an example. I mean, they could get away with allowing Indiana 2 extra scholarships. I mean, there's going to be some unprecedented rule changes because this is an unprecedented time in sports history for us. So it won't shock me. I don't think they should do it. I think in the long run, it probably creates more issues than what it solves. I mean, there's some unfairness to the way those guys' years ended, and careers ended for a lot of them. But you're gonna start negatively impacting freshmen that are coming in if you make some changes. And I've not thought it through enough to say for or against
and there are so many moving parts to that. That's the first thing. When I had Stefan Kreisnick on last week, he wrote that piece that we talked to him about this very, very scenario, but it was more in regards to the spring athletes, which I get that. It makes perfect sense. And it's not that they can't do it. I just don't know that. Yeah, I'm not in it, so I'm not coming from a standpoint that experienced what they just lost, but I kind of understand it. But I just don't know that. Do you allow for every one of those seniors to come back just because of missing the tournament after playing 4 months of an entire season? I just don't know. I think it's just one of those unfortunate things in life where we're just going to have to say, yeah, it sucks and it sucks bad, but that's just the way it is. But I don't know.
Let's come up with a. I should have. I know we were going to talk about that topic. I should have come up with a different team in general. Let's come up with Purdue, for example. Who are Purdue seniors? Boudreaux. Boudreaux's a senior, and Harms is not a senior, right? No, Harms
not
is
yet.
A junior.
Gee whiz, he's been there for 18 years.
Oh, Jihad Proctor is he's a transfer from Iona.
So was a grad transfer. Guy. So was the other guy. Boudreaux.
Yeah. But they're both seniors. Okay, so I want to use them instead of Indiana as an example because they cover a couple of different instances. So for one, the only thing they missed is the Big Ten tournament. Okay, they weren't going to make the NCAA tournament or possibly the NIT tournament. So do you value the NCAA above the NIT? It's still a tournament. It's still a tournament. So they're probably going to have that opportunity. So here's the thought process I've got with this is, coaches, let's say Matt Painter, and I don't want to use Archie Miller as an example because then everyone is going to, because we're an IU show, they're going to think I'm picking on certain players or coaches or whatever. But if you take Matt Painter as an example, Matt Painter has built his team and recruited and, designed how they're moving forward based on Boudreaux and Jihad Proctor not being there. So if all of a sudden they are going to be there, then everything that he has kind of built his team around doing, and in some cases it'll be a blessing and you'll be like, oh my gosh, yes, we would definitely want another year. In some cases you'd be like, that creates a little bit of an issue for me because I've recruited over the top of those guys now because, Boudreaux started, I think, the last several games. Jihad Proctor for Purdue started the middle portion of the games. You could say the same thing about Devontae Green started, the middle portion of the games for IU or whatever. And you could say Deron Davis was playing his best basketball of his career right towards the end. And so then, do you want those guys to come back? And I don't mean that negatively against any of those players. That's why I didn't want to use IU players. But I mean, they kind of screw up your rotations and what you've built your team around moving forward in. And I'm not sure every coach across the country would sit around saying, oh my gosh, give us an opportunity to have our seniors back. Now, Michigan State would, but Cassius Winston's probably going to play in the NBA anyway. And I will. Okay, here's a statement that I'm going to make, and the 49-year-old version of me is going to tell you this is a terrible, bad attitude. But I'm also going to be honest with you about it, and I'm going to tell you if after my 5th year, because I redshirted a year, Pat Graham graduated with me. He redshirted a year. Damon Bailey played his 4 years. If at the end of that time, you had come to us and said, hey, you can come back for another year because of a circumstance like this, I'm not sure you would have got 3 yeses. Let's put it that way.
I agree. I mean, we've seen a lot of guys, Devontae and Deron Davis have already said, I think, to Rick Bozich, and we'll talk to him about that as well. Great timing that they are the same exact what you just said was their response. Even if they're offered, they don't expect to come back. Now, I'll be honest with you. You would have been welcome back. I don't know that they are, not because of them, but I think Archie wants to move forward with his roster overhaul. It's nothing against Deron, nothing against Devontae.
And that's why I didn't want to use Deron and Devontae, because this is not an indictment towards those two players.
Right.
I think coaches in general, once the season is over, there are some circumstances where this is not the case. I think Cassius Winston would probably be the case. Although I think if you got a candid interview with Dane Fife or Tom Izzo, I think that they would tell you Cassius Winston has not been the crown jewel to coach that everyone thinks that they are. I mean, they've had some major frustrations with him as well. But I think if they had a chance to welcome him back for the team next year, especially with the guys that we know are Hauser, the kid that transferred from Marquette, that are going to be on their team next year. I mean, you talk about being ranked number 1 going into the season. You get to bring Xavier Tillman, or actually he wasn't even a senior. You get to bring Cassius Winston back, and on that team next year for Michigan State, they will be very difficult to beat. I mean, they would be number 1 for sure.
Deron Davis, because of all the injuries he's gone through and dealt with, I don't think that he has a pro career anywhere.
Europe, it's possible. Yeah,
you think so? Even with his now, Devontae, on the other hand, probably going to find a team to latch on to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying Devontae.
Yeah, no,
but Deron Davis would probably also because of his size.
Just because of his injuries, I'm concerned a little bit.
True.
But Devontae, he's going to latch on somewhere. He's gone, man. He's not coming back for another year of college. He's going to be gone and start his next odyssey. So yeah, it's we'll talk to Rick Bozich about that. He's going to join us next year on the program. Hall of Fame sports writer with Fox 41 WDRB.com in Louisville. So also an IU grad though, but he knows this game inside and out. Look forward to talking to him when we come back right here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
So we cruise, baby.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dawkins.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe. Effective. Even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Thursday. Coy O'Leary with you, joined now by one of the greats, Hall of Fame sports writer from Fox 41, WDRB.com in Louisville, Rick Bozich. Rick, how are you, sir?
Doing good, guys. I'm actually out walking my dog, practicing social distancing.
Well, it's a lot has changed since the last time we spoke, man. Last time I saw you was at the Big Ten tournament. Everything was still good at that moment, but man, oh man, obviously things have changed drastically since then.
Yeah, I mean, a week ago today, actually, I was at the ACC tournament. I saw you at the Indiana-Wisconsin game, Indiana-Minnesota game. But a week ago this morning, we were right now on our way over to the Greensboro Coliseum, where John Swafford was going to explain to us why the ACC tournament was going to go on with only friends and family in the building. And it was a bizarro scene because he showed up a half an hour late for the press conference, which was the first sign that something was up. And then after that, he said there'd been some confusion the day before as league by league made its decision about whether they were going to go on the next day. But he said they had a conference call and everybody was going to do things together. And about 11 o'clock, I walked out of the press conference, and it was about 5-minute walk down to the courts. And by the time I got down to the courts, somebody had texted me that the Big Ten tournament was off. And I was like, he just told me they were all doing it together and it was on. And then, the AAC went down and the SEC went down. And I think the ACC was the next to the last one to cancel. Only the Big East was last. But it was just, it's like the Twilight Zone. That's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, the Big East was actually in the middle of a game when they stopped theirs and come to an end. But yeah, it has been bizarre. And one of the things that has come out of that, though, and been a big, we were talking about it earlier, me and Todd, Dick Vitale, Fran Fraschilla, lots of people think that college seniors, these winter sports, get an additional year, and I just don't see how they can ever make that work. And then plus you got so many players like Aaron Matus from Fox 41 there talked to Devontae or Deron Davis, and they're done regardless. So this is going to be another thing for the NCAA to have to deal with, and I don't know how that they make it work.
Yeah, I mean, my view on that is that's a question that's pretty low on the list of priorities right now. There's a lot of other more important things to worry about. And then when we do get to that question, I'd say I can understand it for the spring sports athletes because they really didn't get any or hardly any of their season. But the basketball players, they got most of their season. Obviously, the most important part for the teams that go into the tournament were taken away. But, it causes problems for what about the guys who are behind them on the roster who's like next year was supposed to be their chance to play, or the freshmen who are coming in? I mean, there's no ideal situation. And as you mentioned with the IU guys, I mean, Deron flat out told Aaron he wouldn't be back. And I thought I saw last night somewhere that Devontae is already doing those cameo videos or whatever you can call
both
them.
Of them.
They'll wish you a happy birthday for like
both
20
of them
or
are
$25.
Yeah, both of them are.
Okay, there you go. So they're done. They're not amateurs anymore. So,
yeah, it is. And I think people are going to have a hard time grasping that. But they're having a hard time with all this. And I understand this is such an unprecedented event that none of us know what to do. It's just a weird deal. And then to have our lives turned upside down and then having to deal with that, it's just been a difficult situation. But something else that's come out here recent, Rick, we had all the FBI stuff with college basketball, and it's been put on the back burner, obviously, because of the coronavirus and whatnot. But HBO has a documentary that's coming out that apparently has the audio with people like Sean Miller and Will Wade, these conversations we've heard about in detail that are supposed to be coming out. So college basketball could be prepared to be getting rocked again.
Yeah, and from what I've read, and I've been trying to get an advanced copy, I'm still working on it, but it's going to make it hard, and other people have already written this, I think, Pat Forty especially, that hard for Arizona and LSU to justify the stances they've taken, which have been to dig in and support their guys no matter what, because I'm sure they're going to stonewall and excuse their way all the way through it, but rational people can listen to those conversations and say, what was going on here?
Yeah, Todd mentioned earlier, he's like, he just not understanding how they still have a job.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's going to be their only, I think they've learned from the past in saying, you said rational people, and when you're dealing with the NCAA and IHSA, most of the time you're not dealing with what common sense and rational people seem to think. And so I think if they're just assuming if they just sit back and let it go. I mean, this is just truly my opinion. I just think that if they just sit back and don't do anything about it and just try to let it go away and not answer any of the questions, I think that they're just kind of hoping it'll go away. And you got Louisville who go ahead. Well, you got Louisville who took the stance of firing their coach, and I think they thought at that point, I mean, maybe they didn't, maybe they were only worried about themselves, but I think at that point they probably figured they were backed into a corner, and a couple of other schools would probably be kind of taking the same stance. And just, I think in firing Rick Pitino, I think if they could go back right now, although they've come out of it, I think smelling like a rose. They've got a great coach that's young and will be there for a long time, but But down there in your country, I mean, I think Louisville, if they could go back 2 years right now and be in that scenario and see what Arizona's gotten away with, I think that they would probably not have fired Rick Pitino.
You're probably right, and I give the administration at Louisville a lot of credit for being proactive and making some really unpopular decisions, because they not only got rid of Rick Pitino, they ended up getting rid of the athletic director, Tom Jurich, who was the architect of everything they did here. The second thing I'd say is the reason I think Rick Pitino didn't survive was that wasn't his first scandal. Louisville had already been on probation, and he had the incident in the restaurant and all that stuff. So I think there was a little bit of scandal fatigue. And the third thing I'd say is it reflects poorly on the administrations of LSU and Arizona, because at some point it's the president of the university who has to stand up and say, hey, this is embarrassing. This isn't what we should be doing. And at LSU, I think the guy who was sort of critical of Will Wade was the athletic director of Joe Oliva, and we've seen Will Wade stayed and Joe Oliva left. So yeah, I think it's a poor reflection on those two schools as much as it is on the NCAA.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Indiana also has a new athletics director, Rick Scott Dolson, someone that we all know. He's been at IU for quite some time. I mean, you've probably known him since his very beginnings, as he started out as a manager for Coach Bob Knight back in the late 80s, and now he's the leader of all about IU's athletics. Yeah, I mean, Scott's blood is cream and crimson, and when it comes out, it's two-tone cream and crimson blood, and He's been part of the program, as you said, all the way back to when he was a student manager for Coach Knight. I think he was with the 87 champs and Steve Alford. He's been around IU at the varsity club and the athletic department for a long, long time. He's a relentlessly positive guy. He's all about IU. I'm sure he's got a vision for where he wants to take the program. And he inherits a mostly strong situation. I mean, I've written this before when Fred announced his retirement that, you look at Fred's overall picture. I think he's made major steps with football. He's got soccer's in good hands. Swimming's gotten better. Women's basketball better than it's ever been. They finished 20 in the final poll. They're good in a lot of sports. It comes down to men's basketball moving up. This year I think they made a small step forward, and they need to keep that progression for the athletic program to be on the right track. Yeah, and of course, basketball is what the Hoosier Nation is concerned themselves about. Right. And Archie Miller now continues. The improvement has not been what a lot of people would like, but the improvement has been there each year. Would have made the NCAA tournament this year, I think, is safe to say. Gets to 20 wins, gives himself a little breathing room, I think, going forward. Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, getting to 20 wins, making themselves in the NCAA field, beating Florida State, Michigan State, Ohio State, Iowa, Penn State, some of the games. Really, I mean, the only loss the two losses to Purdue, to me, were the biggest negative of the season. Not being able to beat Purdue either time when Purdue really wasn't that good this year. That was probably the biggest negative of this season. But if everybody comes back who's scheduled to come back, and you add the 4-player recruiting class and maybe a grad transfer, I've already seen Indiana in the top 25 in several of preseason projections for next year. So you would think next year would be a year where they would, easily make the NCAA tournament and maybe move up to, top 4, top 5 in the league and, take it from there. And you got to give him credit. I think I've read that if Anthony Leal gets Mr. Basketball, it'll be the first time in IU history that they've recruited 3 consecutive Mr. Basketball. So, he's followed up on his pledge of recruiting guys from the inside out. Absolutely. I mean, he's got a solid class coming in next year of Indiana kids. And as you pointed out, got 9 guys back. Demezy Anderson, maybe a question mark on that. But of those 9, 6 started games last year. So right. I guess he's getting closer to the nucleus that he really wants to have. And the fact that he has been able to progress is got to be a positive for Hoosier fans to look at next season. And I think a lot of the guys who are coming in are going to be more of his kind of players, more blue collar, grinded out, high intensity defensive players. Devontae Green had a lot of good moments. Indiana doesn't beat Florida State without him. Was it Iowa? He also had a great game against. But let's be honest, he was either really good or sometimes
not so good in terms of his decision making and taking crazy shots and doing stuff. And I think, my opinion, that it'll be a little bit more consistent performance next season without that X factor. And Duran, it just didn't work out for him because he couldn't stay healthy. And you looked at him, especially his sophomore year. I remember the Duke game early on where Duke couldn't guard him in the low post, and then not long after that he tore his Achilles, and he just was never really able to get back from that. When you watched him running up and down the floor, he didn't have any lift underneath the basket, and he really wasn't able to beat his men down the floor on any kind of fast break situations, and he had a hard time, I also think, out away from the basket guarding pick and roll. So, if they need to find another big man, because they've only got really 3 next year, right? Brunk and Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson. So they probably need another big man.
Yeah, that was what I was, when it come to this recruiting class, I just kept saying they've got to get somebody in here. Otherwise, if they have to recruit in next season, then you're going to be counting on having nothing but freshmen around Race Thompson, because I'd say Trace Jackson's last season will be next year. So yeah, you're right in pointing that out. So, but they have a lot of good coming back next year, so things should be pointing in the right direction, it looks like.
How are you guys? I think they were counting on Dawson Garcia being that guy, and they finished runner-up to Marquette. The only way I think Indiana will be in trouble next season is if somehow the outlook changes and Trace Jackson Davis does not come back. Without him, they've got an issue in the front court that's going to be hard to solve. So that's the number one. It all starts and it all ends with Indiana next season, Trace Jackson Davis being back.
Yeah, and all indications are that he's coming back. Well, we've heard nothing to the contrary, and haven't seen his name in any of the mock drafts or anything like that.
Right.
So I think everybody should be fine in that regard. And how, in regards to you guys, I know that the coronavirus has affected all of us, but Rick also works for a TV station in addition to his writing and everything else he does. How are you guys handling the newscasts?
We've totally revamped the way we do it. The people who are primarily focused on writing for the internet are not to come to the building since last Sunday. So we're working from home. A couple times they've had me on TV this week, and they've sent a photographer out just to interview me. And then they've split the news staff up into 2 groups, the people that are out in the field reporting stories and the people who are in the building who are like on-air talent and production people and editors, and they're the ones who are actually putting the newscast together. They've spread people out in the newsroom so you're not sitting close to each other. They've moved the anchors farther apart on the desk, and I think they've even made a rule that like the sales and business staff's on the 2nd floor of the building and the newsroom's on the 1st, and you're not allowed, you're either on one floor or the other. So we've done a lot of things, and I was just listening when you called with Tony Kornheiser's podcast, and he was mentioning that on the Today Show, like some of the anchors are staying at home. They're on from remote locations. I don't know. I haven't been watching it, but we're taking it seriously. Initially it was like, wow, that's a lot. And as the week's gone on, it's like, that makes sense.
It absolutely does, man. Yeah, crazy times. Well, Rick, I can't thank you enough for joining us. As always, we greatly appreciate your expertise and joining us and taking the time to do so. And stay safe, and hopefully we'll talk again at some point soon, and hopefully there's positive news the next time we talk.
Yeah, same to you, Todd and Jim, and stay safe yourself, and look forward to a time where we can get together in the press room at Assembly Hall and obsess over stuff that doesn't really seem that important today, but hopefully will seem very important again.
Absolutely. Great.
Yes,
Rick Bozich. Thank you, sir.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Rick Bozich, Hall of Fame sports writer, like I said, graduated from IU, from the region originally. Works Fox 41 in Louisville, WDRB.com, but he is a Hall of Fame sports writer and former president of the Basketball Writers Association. But Rick Bozich goes back a long way. He great story. Todd, I don't know if you know this, but he was when he was a student at IU, worked for IDS, and he was covering basketball. And it was in Knight's earlier. This was in the mid '70s. Knight, he pissed Knight off, and Knight left him at the airport. No, really? he showed up late. He was actually late, and I think he got left
Well, that is definitely not a surprise.
Yes, I can imagine.
His last name could have been Knight, and if he was late,
I guarantee it
at the airport.
It was Johnny Ballgame told me a great story. I think it was him. But he went home with Pat Knight to his house one day. They were going over to the house. He said, "Come on, we gotta go to the house. I gotta go over and see Dad." It was his birthday or something. And I think they're like 20 minutes late. And he's like, "Dude, we gotta get going. We're late." He's telling this to Pat. Pat's like, whatever, we're fine. We're fine. And so they're like, they get there, and he said they're just going down. It's like a ranch house, and they're going down this long hallway. He's behind Pat. Pat's walking in front of him. He said Pat gets to the end of the hallway and turns left, and all he hears is, "You're late. Get the F out of here." And that was it.
Yep. Happy birthday.
He said they turned around, and that was it.
Not even a surprise.
Hey, we got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle and Larry back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dawkins.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this crazy Thursday, March 19. Sally texted into the show. You'll like this one, Todd. From Sally in Evansville. I enjoyed the interview yesterday with Jordan Geronimo. It's been fun recently to hear the accomplishments of our players' mothers and aunts. My generation didn't have that. Our mothers didn't really have organized sports the way we do now. Our mothers are the ones who fought for Title IX so that the rest of us could play. More But make sure Todd knows our moms did not have anything to do with the class system. Oh, thank you, Sally. We love you. Thank you for listening to the show.
I am well aware that no one's mom was in charge of the IHSA making that stupid decision. Believe me, I know the morons who did it. So,
Ryan up in Whitlow, Michigan. Sorry, I haven't messaged the last couple of days. I've not had my phone near me during the last couple of shows, but I'm listening as always. Thanks, guys. Todd, when is it college basketball season? It's always college basketball season. I don't really understand that one.
He's the first. He's the first case I've heard of social distancing yourself from your phone.
There you go. Probably a great thing
probably a really great thing.
That may be the only good thing that comes out of this.
I've read a lot of stuff people have put out lately, and I wish they would social distance themselves from their phones.
Yeah. Oh man, but I love having Rick Bozich on. He's just great stories.
You know, he's like one of those. He doesn't look older than us, but he's been around so long. Like he covered IU when I played there, so to me, like he's just one of the older guys that's been around forever, and he's kind of got that older guy's wisdom where he just, if you ever heard the story about the whatever, I'm not going to say it's a dirty joke. It's a dirty joke.
Yeah, we're not in that hour yet. So.
He's just that guy with the wisdom that just kind of never gets going too fast. He just moseys around, and he's been through a lot of different scenarios, so he doesn't get too
tortoise in the
excited.
hare kind of a situation.
What's that?
Kind of like a tortoise in the hare situation.
Yeah.
May not be as fast moving as other, but cow always gets to where he's going. Always gets there. Hey, on this date 5 years ago, I was in Mexico running around desperately trying to find any frickin' place that could find the NCAA tournament because Indiana was playing Kentucky in 2015-16. And I finally, by halftime, found a guy that could get it into this Mexican bar on some coast down in
were you on spring break or something?
It's kind of had been down there on business, but we were taking a few extra days. But this is the last time Indiana Kentucky played. Indiana got the win. I think it was 71-67, but that was back when OG Anunoby was putting that defensive prowess on, and Juwan Morgan was walking around with one shoulder hanging off of his body. But that was just fun times, man. But I can't believe that was 5 stinking years ago. But I remember
that is
desperately. I was desperately running around a beach in Mexico trying to find a TV showing American college basketball that they couldn't give a crap less about. But I'm like, I'm going to watch this game come hell or high water.
It's pretty shocking, especially given spring breaks and stuff like that they wouldn't have.
I was in this kind of cove place
where the cartels are.
Yeah, maybe because a buddy of ours who was Mexican took us there, and I'm like, going, where are we? But that was 5 years ago today. And then, of course, today being Thursday, first day of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. I mean, we would be finishing this show up. I mean, it truly puts a pit in my stomach to be thinking that when we generally finish this show up at 11 o'clock Eastern, about, a short 1 hour later, we'd be tipping off the very first game in the round of 64. And man, that sounds fun. A lot different than what my schedule is for today. Probably won't shower till 2 o'clock today.
Yeah, I think Indiana would have ended up as like a 9 seed. Is pretty much what I came to.
Yeah, I mean, based on where they ended right now, I think that would have been generous. Had they beaten Penn State, I think you're probably right on. Had they beaten Maryland, I think they'd have gotten up to an 8. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, it's aggressive seeding, but I think they would have had to beat Penn State to be a 9.
I wonder what our buddy Mike DeCour, I think he had him as a 9, didn't he?
Not sure.
Yeah,
you know what? Truly, it's one of those things. It's like I can't even get myself. I see people all the time posting stuff about watching, the 87 or 81 or 76 championships and all that, and I'm just like, I can't even do it. Like my TV still shows the NCAA tournament supposed to be starting today on the guide, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that is depressing.
UCLA was listed as the first 4 out, I think. They were in that group along with Stanford. I think I think Stanford would have helped Indiana because they lost that and it would have moved Indiana up a little bit. But I don't know where they – I'm trying to look to see where he had them, and I don't see them yet. So must be on the other side of the bracket. There they are. He had them as a 10. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they would have been a 9 because I think they would have beat Penn State.
I do too.
I think they could have beat Maryland. So I think they would have been a 9. Of course, it's just fun crap to talk about is all it is. But
it kind of is fun. It kind of
depressing a little bit.
Yeah, it's very depressing. I mean, and here's the thing, and Rick said it, and I constantly have to remind myself of it just to keep the perspective. But I mean, it's a small issue in with what we've got going on in society and the world. So, I'm not going to whine and cry about it, but I will definitely admit it's depressing.
Hey, while I'm thinking about it, today, it's Takeout Thursday. I got to give Danny Boy credit. He started that.
Agree. And
Dan Dockage, Takeout Thursday, and I'll retweet his deal, but you got to give him credit on doing that. Yeah, I agree with you. Takeout Thursday, man, whether it's from Bubba's 33 in Clarksville or Yogi's or the Tap or all that stuff, any of those places, go get yourself some takeout, man. Take the day off. Don't cook. Just get some takeout, and make sure you go see the dentist. You got to go see the dentist. You got dental insurance. You keep things. It's a good time to get that stuff taken care of. As a matter of fact, you can't do a lot of things. Get the kids in there. Get the family in there. Get that stuff taken care of while you got time. Go see Dr. J, Reynolds Family Dentistry. Take care of our friends. And Eagle Point, of course, they're open selling food at the pub. So you can get takeout there. And as a matter of fact, I believe if it's still going, I'll have to check with Unique, but they were doing on all orders $20 or more, 2 rolls of toilet paper. I laugh at that, but I went to the store yesterday, Todd Leary, and there was no toilet paper and no bread. Not that I need toilet paper, but
I was
hoping to get some bread.
Yeah, it's getting I did some shopping for my mom yesterday, and it was –
look at you being a dutiful son.
That's right. And it was like they were completely wiped out of all bread. I mean, there wasn't even a mini bagel sitting on the shelves anywhere. I mean, that was pretty funny because a couple of days earlier to that, I mean, I was at the Kroger here in Bloomington. They had everything. Like it was fully stocked. So
Ryan said sorry he was being silly asking Todd when basketball. So I get it now. He was just missing it and asking when's basketball start. Got you on that one. Dr. J hit us up as well. Speaking of Dr. J, we could have been watching the Hoosiers play out west like we always get screwed into with a glass full of Boilermaker tears to help wash down his party snacks. That's a positive outlook.
It is.
Dr. J with the positive outlook.
I tell you this all the time on there, though. Like as a player, I know the fans wanted to play as close to home as possible, and that's something that started after I left, where they started kind of trying to regionalize where they put teams. And sometimes you'll have a bracket from the West, and they might play somewhere totally different and not way out west. But as a player, we always wanted to go somewhere warm. And I didn't really like if we had a chance to go to San Antonio versus Louisville, I would have picked San Antonio in a heartbeat. And I know most of the fans would have picked Louisville. But I know Coach Knight would have picked Louisville. But as a player, we always wanted to go somewhere nice and warm like Miami or somewhere.
Tim hit the text line, says, how about Dolson getting IU in Kentucky playing at the Yum Center and Bankers Life Fieldhouse for that big baby cow? I'm sure that's something that'll be worked on continuously, but I don't know that that's never not been worked on. But maybe that's a good point. Maybe new blood for whatever reason, not blaming Fred Glass, but because it was Calipari who actually started all that crap. But maybe new blood can help rejuvenate the Indiana-Kentucky series. Now, I truly, honestly don't believe that's going to happen for 3 years because I think Calipari is going to be at Kentucky for at least 2 more years, maybe 1. But it's not going to happen until he's gone. There's no doubt in my mind.
In my mind, where that thing got screwed up was starting to play on the home arenas. I mean, there was a reason why we didn't do that. And
well, it was money. They wanted to get more people in there.
More people in where?
Well, they started. They used to do it in the when in Indianapolis. I mean, they're in the big stadium. They're in the.
That's
dome.
what I'm saying, though. Like that. Like if you play it on a neutral site, it makes more sense to me. Like I think part of Calipari's issue was they got treated like crap when first of all, we know he's a whining crybaby and he's mad because they lost.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, the students make that thing pretty brutal. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And I'm not saying Indiana students, Purdue, IU, Kentucky, Notre Dame, doesn't matter where you are. Like, the students can get pretty brutal. And I mean, why they changed it from ever playing the neutral sites, I'm not really sure. I always thought it was a great
I think Tom Crean wanted to move it to home and home. He wanted to play it in Assembly Hall and Rupp Arena.
Well, that's just that. Why would you not go back and look at years and years of how that thing has been successful and worked out and continue with that? Like, that's just, if that's the case, I'm not saying it is, but if you're right and Tom Crean was the, engine behind that thing happening that way, that's a bad decision.
Yeah, hopefully they can get it swapped around. But yeah, that's hope. Man, some hopeful new blood. Maybe we'll see Scott sometime and ask him. We'll ask him that question.
Pin that on Scott. Put the pressure on him right off the bat.
I will guarantee you. I mark my words. I promise you. The first time they have a press conference with him, that question will be brought up. I will guarantee it.
Really?
I promise you that will be. It's always a question. It's a question.
It's interesting. Like, I have read a lot of social media posts about the hire of Scott Dolson, and some of them good, some of them not good. And the ones that are not good, none of them really relate to Scott Dolson. They all relate to continuing on with the current regime, like it's done a negative job. And I'm not saying, like, I'm not trying to influence anyone's opinion positively or negatively. You can have whatever opinion you want. It's just really surprising to me that people don't look at the athletic department as being in a really good place right now. And that truly, like you said it with Bozich, and you're right on the money. Like, they base their entire opinion on the entire athletic department on the basketball program.
Yeah, because there was a lot of good going on.
Oh my gosh. I mean, every facility is nicer. There's great coaches all across the board. And I mean, they have done nothing but improve.
At the same time, though, that's the case at every Big Ten school, though, because they all are getting injected with Big Ten Network money now at the tune of $50 million a season. So, but that's something they're going to take a hit on next year, because there's not going to be any NCAA payout. There's not going to be a Big Ten Network tournament payout. I mean, they still have the Big Ten Network money from the regular season, thank goodness, but they're not going to get that hit that all these schools get from the NCAA tournament. That's going to be a jolt. But of course, at the same time, they also don't have the expenses of dealing with all this for all this spring sports. So they might end up coming out ahead, if you want to be truthful, because they don't have the expenses for all the spring sports that don't make money.
Yeah, they don't lose. They're not losing incoming revenue based off of ticket sales for the most part. I mean, most universities are not losing anything from that. But I mean, I understand what you're saying about all the Big Ten schools will kind of be in the same spot, except for I disagree from the standpoint of they're not all in the same spot as to the case of Fred Glass has put coaches in place that have all these different programs. I mean, if you look at, 24 sports, if you look at 1 to 24, I think Indiana would rank up there at the very, very top with where they stand if you factor in all the sports. And that is what an athletic director is supposed to do. Yes, we all know if the athletic director at Ohio State hires a bad football coach, it doesn't matter what the basketball program does, he's getting fired. Like, we understand that. We all know that's a thing. And Indiana is the flip-flop of that, in that if the basketball program is bad, the athletic director is going to take the hit for it. But I mean, that's not the case here. So I like, that's the debate I would have with all the people, is look at who Archie Miller has recruited, look at who's coming in, look at the type of players that we have, and let the process take its course, and everybody will be happy.
Yeah, because in other words, you don't have a choice. Let it play out, because it's going to play out. I mean,
well, you have a choice to not have a bad attitude about it,
right? Yeah, exactly.
I don't mean you. I mean
no. I know exactly what you mean. I agree with you 1,000%. You're exactly correct. But yeah, looking forward to that. Scott Dolson, people talking about As Dr. J says, he's kind of fired up about seeing the new athletic director come in. He goes, it may be based on us, but I think Scott's going to do a great job. I mean, he's been groomed for this. He's a guy that he reminds me of George Herbert Walker Bush when he became president. He went through, from his early schooling, he was in military, he was a leader. He had all this stuff from the ground up. Now, I'm not comparing Scott to a president, but I'm just saying he was groomed from the ground up. He was a freaking basketball manager. Then he went into work and business, and he's crossed every avenue of what it takes to do this. Now, the one thing where I don't know where he has gotten or if he has the experience of actually dealing with the coaches, of evaluating the coaches and all that goes along with that. But that has gotten to be the least part of the athletic director's job, but still one of the most crucial.
Yeah, I mean, and Scott has done that, and Scott has been, very tight in the process of all that happening. Here's what I love about him is the fact that he's been through so many different regime changes since 1985 when he got there, that he's kind of seen it all. He's seen the dictator side of things. He's seen the democratic side of things. He's kind of seen all of the different possibilities that can take place within the athletic department, and he's learned from all that. And that's why, if they had gone outside and hired someone from the outside, it would have been a travesty, and it would have been unfair, to be quite honest with you, because you're exactly right. They've been grooming Scott for this job for more than 20 years.
We've got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coy and O'Leary. Stay tuned. We're back with more. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition joined us next, right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe. Effective. Even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Thursday, March 29th. Coyle O'Leary with you, joined now by our good friend Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition. Dustin, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing well. I'm even better now that I got a John Mellencamp intro. Can't beat that. How are you guys?
That's right, man. It's crazy old night is right, as it has been a crazy old week as the coronavirus has settled in, and we're adjusting accordingly, as are you, ISE, and things. But, yeah, it's no joke now that the sports world, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but now it's moving forward to the changes and looking to the future and recruiting. And a great point made the other day by I think it was Taylor Lehman that told me that he pointed out of Ohio State's, he pointed out their recruits, they had like 10 top 100 players, because some players are now committing to schools without getting to visit because of what's going on, but they're just going to take the absolute top offer. So the rich is kind of getting richer right now in college football.
Yeah, and that's, kind of what you'd almost expect, because a lot of these, official visits obviously are getting canceled. And so players aren't getting the opportunity to meet with guys like Tom Allen face to face. They're not getting a chance to see Bloomington. I know right now it's not the most beautiful place, but, when it comes to spring, summer, and fall, Bloomington and Indiana University is a beautiful campus. Kids aren't getting the chance to experience other sporting events and see what the student population's like. So, yeah, and even when recruiting does pick back up, you got to imagine that some of these 4- and 5-star recruits, they're going to eliminate maybe the Indianas, the Purdues from their official visit because they may go after the top schools. So it was going to be interesting to see how recruits responded, and with players looking for things to do, activities to keep them busy. This is something that they can think about. They can do their own research on Google and things like that. And obviously, coaches are going to have to start getting creative in how they're making these pitches, because you can't attend spring practice, you can't get to the spring game, and you can't get on campus to talk to coaches, whether it's a head coach, assistant coach. A lot of what Tom Allen said is he wants to be the best recruiter. But you look at a guy like Tywan Mullen, who's been an excellent recruiter since he committed to Indiana last year. And players and recruits aren't getting the chance to meet those guys face to face and understand that they're building something special. So, yeah, right now you're seeing Ohio State just dominate the 2021 class. I think it probably would have anyway. But the fact that you can't take official visits, that kids are getting some of these big high end offers, it seems like they're just kind of taking it when they come in.
Then, of course, I talked too about Indiana's a team, a great example that I look at as they are not a team that had been made many bowl games. So they don't have that late bowl game, early spring camp experience where a lot of these upper tier programs, that's an every year for them. They got to do that this year. We're looking forward to using that momentum to kind of springboard into the season. Now that's cut short. Of course it is for everybody, but a team like Indiana was really looking forward to using that momentum. That's kind of stopped for them.
Yeah, it did. And that's, obviously it's a bummer for everybody across the sports world and in college football and the Big Ten. But I'll throw this point out there too. How important now are those extra bowl practices for Indiana? I mean, you're talking about a team that's returning, they've got one of the youngest rosters, if not the youngest roster in the Big Ten next season. And a lot of those kids got some of those extra practices in from those bowl games. So that's going to be huge right now. You look at nine Big Ten teams going bowling, and at the very least, I know that they cut out spring practice. You're going to have to deal with some replacements, obviously, on both sides of the football there. But at the same time, at least you got some of those extra repetitions. You do have a little momentum heading into summer and fall camp, depending on when that kicks up. But, I think that those are even more important for teams like Indiana, who did get a chance when they would otherwise be, they've sat at home the last 2 years during those months. They got a chance to get out, practice, and kind of show the world there. I know they lost that game, but they showed that the world that they can compete with just about anybody on the football field. So I think hitting a bowl game in 2019 is even more beneficial for Tom Allen now that you have everything and you're not able to go out and recruit and you're not able to participate in spring practice, at least right now.
I mentioned that a minute ago about the recruiting, like the bigger programs, people kind of just committing there without being able, if they can't visit. I think, is that going to hurt Indiana's recruiting, you think?
Well, it'll be interesting in the sense that when recruiting does open back up, I mean, again, these kids aren't signing on the dotted line until December. So you may have kids that are committing, I guess you could say maybe out of panic a little bit, just so that they know that they have their spot. But they can still, Tom Allen can still go out and recruit some of these kids. And then when he can get them on campus, maybe get them to a game and get them there into Bloomington in the fall. You may start seeing a lot of players start to flip their commitments. You may see a lot of players, whether they're 4-star, 5-star guys, or even high 3-star guys, who take a lot more official visits because now they're going to have that opportunity. Like I said, it's unprecedented what we're going through right now. And the fact that you can't make any official visits, the fact that you can't see these teams practicing or playing in their spring game, it's a new world for these recruits. So I think that when we do see recruiting open back up and when you see kids able to visit campus again, I don't know that it's necessarily going to hurt Indiana. It'll be interesting to me to see how many of those kids who have previously committed are willing to flip their commitment now that they get a chance to meet some of these players and coaches face to face. And it's not just through text message or Twitter or phone calls and things of that nature. So it could potentially have a negative effect on some of those lower programs like in Indiana or a Purdue or Northwestern that are trying to rise in the recruiting rankings. But I think that this is going to be a really crazy year in the recruiting because I just think you're going to see so many commitments and decommitments and flips and things of that nature because we still have till early to mid-December until that signing period.
Todd, who's your favorite NFL team?
Well, Colts, of course.
Well, speaking of the Colts, Dustin, Phillip Rivers now, an Indianapolis Colt. Todd was just all over that. Loved that. He's just so happy that Phillip Rivers is going to be his quarterback. Then also we've got Tom Brady and Tampa Bay. So a couple of crazy things to talk about there just for something to talk about. First of all, we got to start with the Colts and Phillip Rivers. A lot of people, it's a polarizing thing. I mean, obviously it's better than what they have right now, but it's just a stopgap measure to me. And I've just never seen Phillip Rivers as being a winner.
Yeah, and he's kind of had that, around his career. He could get teams to the playoffs occasionally, and he could never win the big game. So I think that's probably the concern. And now that he's later in his career, it's what have you done? And you look at Tampa Bay. You go out and you get a Tom Brady, a guy obviously who's proven. He's the greatest quarterback of all time, and I think that's probably what Colts fans wanted to see. They wanted to see them go out and maybe pursue. I don't know who you would get at that point, but Phillip Rivers he's just kind of a blah addition, I would say. I think he can still win a lot of games and get him to the playoffs, but if you're looking to make a deep playoff run or a Super Bowl run, I just don't know that he's the guy that'll get that accomplished for Indianapolis. And with the kind of quarterbacks Indianapolis is used to, obviously being spoiled with Peyton Manning for so long and then having Andrew Luck, who then abruptly retired. I just feel like Indianapolis is used to such great quarterback play that now all of a sudden you bring in Phillip Rivers and it's just kind of an underwhelming addition.
And then, of course, Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay. We've seen this 1,000 times over, whether it was Joe Montana in Kansas City or Joe Namath for the Rams. Or, I could go on and on and on, but it never gets weirder when you see a Tom Brady. We haven't yet, but in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform next fall. It's a weird deal, but it is paying great dividends for the Buccaneers, as I'm sure their season ticket holders are just going crazy.
Yeah, and then you make the case that Tampa Bay, who has been a franchise that, in my opinion, has been kind of selling the fact that they want to have a long-term goal, that their goal was to build for the future and try to, create multiple Super Bowl winning teams. And now all of a sudden you bring in Tom Brady and it's like, okay, enough is enough. We've struggled. We haven't made the playoffs in a while. We've not been competitive frequently in our division. And now we're going to just make a run at this thing. We're going to try to bring in the best talent we can. And what better way to do that than with a guy who's won 6 Super Bowls and is going to go down in the Hall of Fame and known as one of the best quarterbacks of all times. It's going to be interesting, but I think that the interesting part to me is going to be what Tom Brady does, because he, to me, he's going out with a bit of an edge, and I think he wants to prove that he was the reason for all those Super Bowls in New England, and kind of show that maybe Bill Belichick wasn't just the brains behind it, that it takes a pretty good quarterback to win all those Super Bowls. So we could see a really big year. I expect that he'll, try to do something where he puts up big numbers like Drew Brees does every year with New Orleans. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of interesting times, but it will be weird after seeing him for 20 years, hold up Lombardi trophies and MVP titles and in that Patriots uniform. It's going to be really weird, not only to see him in a different uniform in a different division. And I think, if I remember right, I think the Tampa Bay even plays the Patriots this year. So he'll have a chance to join Brett Favre in beating every team, I believe, this year in the NFL.
Holy cow.
So that'll be something to keep an eye on as well.
That's a pretty neat deal. I think this is crazy because I know their personnel's changing. I've heard that a lot of players are reaching out to play with them, but I think that they make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, the way that the Bucs roster is lining up, and I'm not far from a professional on this, but I would not be surprised if they are not done making moves and building that roster, and they want to, like I said, they want to win immediately. I think that they realize that their long-term plan was kind of it didn't work out when you have a guy like Jameis Winston, who's just not panning out. And you gave him multiple opportunities. So, yeah, I think that they're trying to win now. I think they'll probably continue to build in free agency and maybe make some trades closer to the season if they can. But, yeah, this is a team that I think would, you look at Tom Brady, and obviously it's going to take more than just Tom Brady to get to a Super Bowl or a deep run in the playoffs. But, yeah, I think Tampa Bay's sending the message that they want to win now, and they're making the moves to do so.
Absolutely. Well, anything else going on from your site, Dustin?
Well, obviously, there's not as much Big Ten football news, but we're trying to have some fun. This week, I'm going to try to create a Big Ten East and West simulated all-star game, and so we'll have a little fun with that. We're just trying to be creative right now and get through it together and provide people a little bit of entertainment to get through their day as, we're all pretty much on lockdown for the next week or so.
I hear you, brother. We're doing the same. We appreciate you joining us as always to try to get that done. But I hope you have a great rest of your week and a good weekend. Stay safe.
Hey, thanks. And you guys should get a lot of credit for, keeping this show going and giving people something to listen to for the next, for 2 hours a day to get them, some sense of the sports normalcy world. So a lot of credit to you and Todd, and I appreciate you having me on again.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate you. We'll
Thanks,
see you
boss.
again next week. There's Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle O'Leary. I always like talking to him. But, the world keeps going forward. It's on hold, but it's still going forward. I mean, NFL is trying to make their arrangements. The NBA is still trying to figure out when they're going to restart the season. They have not canceled their season. They're looking at trying to find a time when to restart it, Todd. And talk about how weird that'll be. Not weird, but weird for the athletes to go on a high maybe a 2-month break. I mean, it's kind of like a new season inside of a season.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost going to be like an abbreviated mini season that'll probably have some kind of little, I'll call it like a warm up period, and then the playoffs will basically start. I mean, I think that, sounds kind of unfair maybe to some teams that were on the verge of, maybe getting to the playoffs, but, everything's kind of unfair right now. I think fair and unfair is kind of thrown out the window in the sports world, for these seasons. And here's going to be the interesting part. Like, there's kind of this, unspoken 2-week thing we've got going on right now that like April 1st, we're going to have a lot more information about when things are going to happen. And I do feel, I don't know that it'll be right then, but I really do feel like there's going to be a flood of information that we're going to start to understand, whether it's going to be a cancellation of the NBA season or whether it's going to be, a postponement or, just exactly where we're going to be. And I think that, maybe April 1st, the end of the month, March time, they kind of said we're closing everything for 2 weeks. And I'm not sure that 2 weeks won't get extended once that time frame gets here, deadline gets here. But
it's 2 weeks past every time they get a positive, they add to that.
Yeah, but I mean, so right now, Simon Malls closed all their malls
until
March 29th. And originally it was, we're gonna do whatever for 2 weeks, and so that 2 weeks kind of started.
It's a moving target,
right? Yeah, it just is a matter of. I think we'll know a lot more information, in that April 1st timeframe. I think we're all kind of supposed to, hunker down and be here, stay socially distanced for the next week and a half or so, and kind of at that point reevaluate and see where we're at. And all the people with 700 rolls of toilet paper will not have to buy any for the rest of the year. I mean, they're in good shape. It's just I'm being facetious with that, obviously, but I mean, we'll know a lot more. I think we'll get a flood of information as to, in the golf world, when golf's going to restart and when, what's safe to do. I think we'll know more about what the safety issues are and what it's safe to do, that week and a half from now, when we originally set that 2 week time frame.
Yeah, and don't forget, go out and Thursday, order out, following the lead of our buddy Dan Dockage there. If you're in Bloomington, of course, you've got Yogi's. Talk to Chris Martin. All of the Finney Hospitality Group places are they will deliver, or you can do it via the what was the app he told me, B-Town something. You can order through them, but you've got the tap and what's that, Jake? B-Town menus. There you go. B-Town menus. But you've got the tap. You've got the.
Hey, Jake, do you have an S-Town menus?
Where's S-Town?
We don't have
Salem.
We don't have delivery. For
Salem. Delivery in Salem. Man, they get yesterday's news next month in Salem. What are you talking about? Come on, man.
I'm just finding
Jake,
about it. I'm just
Jake,
finding
have
out
you heard
about
this
quarantine.
coronavirus thing?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just found out about it. It's crazy.
Yesterday, they're like, "Oh man, they're washing their hands. Even it's crazy. It's gone nuts down there." But I'll say, if you're in Clarksville, Bubba's 33. They got carry out, man, and the food is amazing. I got to tell you. But
I've got two friends that own restaurants in Indianapolis that have done just an outstanding. I don't want to say community service. It's just kind of they're great businesses. And Prime 47 and Jeremiah Hammond and those guys up there, and then the Ale Emporium with Scott and Shannon, friends of mine that not only are staying open and doing delivery, but they are paying all their employees during the entire time, tips and everything, all the way down to the dishwashers. So I just wanted to make sure we gave a shout out to them. I actually drove 2 hours to the Ale Emporium yesterday in Indianapolis just to get takeout, just to support their group. So it went, and they're just great people, and they're great people to work for. And there's a lot of different places that are doing stuff right now. And this is, if we can flip a positive, Jim, I'm not trying to be, I'm never Johnny positive here, but if we can turn this into a positive, I mean, my gosh, people are working together in ways that I don't think we foresaw being a possibility a couple of weeks ago. So hopefully that's going to continue, and there'll be some real positives that come out of this, some positive long-term changes.
Absolutely. And it's not just the restaurants. Like I said earlier, I mean, our good friend and sponsor, Dr. J, Reynolds Family Dentistry. Great time to go to the dentist.
For sure.
You've already got dental insurance, so go get that stuff taken care of.
Those of us that haven't been in 5 years, it's perfect time for us to go.
It is a perfect time for you to go. You've got time on your hands. That's right.
I'll drive 2 hours for wings, but I'm not.
I forgot about that. I forgot about that. You should not have brought that up. Oh man, but get out if you're in Bloomington, get out to the Tap or Social Cantina or Yogi's, or if you're in the Clarksville, you've got Bubba's 33 or Evansville, plenty of places there. You just order out today. I went to the store yesterday, and it was not a pleasurable experience. I got to be honest with you. I'd rather been sitting down at Buffalo Louie's even eating wings, or at Yogi's eating some chicken tenders. It would have been. But that's the thing. Even though you order out, I mean, you need to. Yeah, it's helping everybody. But it'd be nice if you could sit down and they would make a rule. You can have one beer. You can have one beer while you wait for your food.
I would say you could just sit there and have a beer in your car while you wait for him to bring it out to you, but that's against the law. So
exactly. Do that. But crazy times we make exceptions, but
that's not going to be one of them.
I agree with you. Hey, it's been another great show. I'm surprised we can keep doing this, but we're hopefully we're keep doing it every day to keep bringing you great shows. Tomorrow, looking forward to talking to Eric Gordon Sr. We'll talk about how this is affecting the AAU circuit. You're very familiar with that. You've been a lot of involvement there, Todd, and of course the Gordons been doing that for a long time. He's run the EG10 circuit there, and of course his son Eric, former Hoosier that plays for the Rockets, and look forward to getting Eric on at some point. But tomorrow, Eric Gordon Sr. On. We'll also do a recruiting special with Nick Baumgart from thehoosier.com, see what's going on in the Indiana high school ranks as well. But lots more to get to tomorrow. We appreciate everybody joining us today. Thanks a lot to Rick Bozich and to Dustin Schutte, and of course to Jake keeping us on the track, Todd Leary and myself. Until tomorrow, I will see you on the radio.